Welcome back, everybody, to the Yankee and the Brit. I'm Jay. He's Maddie. We're going to continue grading each team division by division. And today, it's the NFC West. And we'll start with the team that never has a first-round pick, the Los Angeles Rams. And, Maddie, I'm just going to start out by saying for not having a first-round pick, which I am going to count Matt Stafford as their first-round pick.
Yep.
B+. And the only reason it's a B+ is because your first round picks only got maybe 5 years.
Yeah, I technically their first round pick this year is Jalen Ramsey, right? And then it's their first round pick next year, and then the one after that.
But yeah, it however you want.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But I like this. Like, it's something different from the entirety of the NFL. Like, the NFL is a copycat league, and I like this. Like that they're trying something different, where it's just like, just if you trust your guys to pick well in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round, then just if you see a guy and you're like, yep, let's just throw these first round picks at him. We don't need the first round picks because they can bust as much as any other pick as well. The first round pick.
If they win a Super Bowl, I literally have to sit back and reevaluate my whole philosophy on the draft. Because I hate giving up picks for expensive players. I hate it because your draft picks are always cheaper. But if they do it, I literally got to sit back and go, wow, everything I've thought for 25 years might be wrong.
Yeah, it only works if you're already a good team. Like, if you're a Houston Texans or if you're a New York Jets or a Jags, you can't do that because you can only do that with one guy. But the Rams have an amazing team. Like, when you look at their team, it's like their defense is set. Their defense is going to be good. The one problem was Jared Goff, and Jared Goff got them to a Super Bowl. So if you add in Matt Stafford instead of Jared Goff, then you're thinking, right, well, here we go then. And it's like, I like just the splash in the picks and hoping that you can develop your later round picks to do better.
They took my guy, Tutu Atwell. Love that guy. He's like 3'3". He's like the size of a Smurf.
He's 5'7". Yeah, he's shorter than I am. I'm like 2 inches taller than Tutu Atwell.
But me and you have talked about him before the draft. I really love this kid. And with what they already have, I love him. And I think you just gave Matt Stafford another weapon I'm a big fan of. But sorry to step on you right away, but I just had to put out Tutu Atwell. Love that guy.
No, that's great. I was just about to move on to him. I've got written down he's probably a reach. There were more polished receivers on the board at the time, but McVay's offense is different. You don't need, to work in McVay's offense, you don't need to be the most polished guy. They're grading on a different scale to everybody else. Not everybody else. Kyle Shanahan grades on a different scale to other people as well. But they're grading plays on a different scale because their offense is different. Like, you wouldn't see the Cowboys, for instance, taking Tutu Atwell this high because they believe in big body receivers who are going to go up and catch the ball. But McVay's going to scheme you open. And this guy's quick. This guy is electric.
You know who he reminds me of?
Yeah.
He reminds me of the potential Tavon Austin had coming out of college, where he could be that gadget guy. So I love it.
He reminds me of Deshaun Jackson, who just happens to be a Los Angeles Ram now. He is Deshaun Jackson. Hopefully he'll stay healthier than Deshaun. And he's gone to a place where he can learn from Deshaun Jackson. I imagine he's going to be a short guy who somehow manages to be a deep ball threat just because he's going to go from the slot and just outrun everybody. And it's an explosive weapon for Stafford to have. The guy's a home run hitter, and he's going to be a great 3rd or 4th receiver on your team. He's never going to be your 1st or 2nd receiver. He's going to be your 3rd or 4th, and he's going to be very good at that job.
I love it. And I also love Jacob Harris, their wide receiver out of UCF, because, now granted, not a first-round talent, but this is a guy I think that people overlook because of being from UCF. So I think he was a good pick. I love the fact that they went after a D tackle because they need help at D tackle. They are another team who draft. Well, we've seen high pick running backs with them that did not work out, Todd Gurley, but they do better with their late round running backs in that offense. I think everything they did, now granted, a lot of them are developmental players, but for a team who's not going to see a first round pick for another couple years, and I think it's 5 years overall, they do such a great job of drafting and developing that I'm not willing to shit on them. And I'm using the first round grades or the first round trades as in picks. So like I said, I think they had a great draft for a team that quietly had 9 picks.
Yeah, I really like it. I like it. They've added depth to a top heavy roster. Like that's what they do with their draft, isn't it? It's they think, right, where do we need depth? Where are the guys who can come in? We're going to develop them, and we're grading on a totally different scale. Ernest Jones, good linebacker, bit of a playmaker. Jibril Cox is better to my eyes, and he was still on the board, so you probably could have got Cox at that point.
I'm sure we'll get. Oh, sorry.
Bobby Brown III is a run-stopping monster. The guy's huge, and I like that. Like, he's going to plug up some holes in the middle. And when you play Kyle Shanahan twice a year, you're going to want some guys who can stop the run.
Yeah, and you're putting this dude next to Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
You're putting him next to Aaron Donald. And I am a firm believer right now that they're probably going to win this division, but I'm sure we'll get more into that closer to the season. And that has just a lot to do with the quarterback situation in San Francisco, because I don't think Jimmy G is going to be starting, but we'll see. But I love this draft for them. And I think they did a lot better than a lot of people thought they were going to be, in that they haven't had a first round pick since like 1940.
Yeah, I think people just make like big assumptions on if you don't have a first round pick, you can't have a good draft. But lots of people whiff on first round picks, but still have a great draft, you know, like that's essentially what they're doing. They're just saying, right, we just trust ourselves from rounds 2, 3, 4 downwards. We don't need to do that. And talking about having to stop a running offense, the 49ers have seemingly gone mental and just thought, we're just going to run the ball. Like this year, that's what we're going to do. Let's do it. Shall we talk the big boy first? The third pick overall, Trey Lance. What do you make of that? God's sake.
You already know what I make of that. I love Trey Lance. I think he was a great pick. I think that that Kyle Shanahan is going to get the best out of him. So if he doesn't make it, it's on him. You know what I mean? He's not one of those quarterbacks that got sent somewhere to die, Justin Fields. And he's not one of those guys who they're going to put too much on his plate right away, Mac Jones. And he's just going to be able to do what he does. And I still think Mac Jones is going to be better than he would have been anywhere else than maybe San Francisco Patriots. Best landing spot for Mac Jones. Liked him too, but you know me. Love Trey Lance. Get a guard. Trey Sermon. Good running back out of Ohio State. I'm just saying I really, really like what the 49ers did too, because if you think about it, now they gave up a ton moving forward, but they still had a first, a second, 2/3 and 2/5 and a 6. But this draft pick, the great players were in the first 2 rounds. The meat of the draft was 3 through 5, and that's where all their picks pretty much came from. So if they drafted right, what they gave up isn't going to be so bad moving forward as it looked a couple days ago.
Yeah, so the only issue I have with it is, so I like Trey Lance. I think he's a good fit. I think.
Oh, sorry, Maddie. B. Forgot to put that out.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, I've given them a B as well. I like Trey Lance. Good pick. Good with the run in Shanahan's offense. Shanahan is going to be thinking, right, let's run this ball all the time. Let's run the rock. Let's run the rock every time. My only thinking is, would you prefer to have would Trey Lance have fallen to 12 if you didn't put so much hype on him by moving up to 3? Maybe.
That could have happened.
You don't know.
This. If you could have took that risk, but me and you, again, have said before, if you target a guy and you think he's your guy, just go get him.
Yeah, I still agree with that. If your guy is your guy, then go get him at number 3. The only issue is their behavior throughout the offseason makes me think that they didn't know if it was their guy.
I don't know how
like,
true this is now, but there was a report that came out. I think I saw Mike Florio talk about it with Peter King. I could be wrong. The rumor now is that they wanted Trey Lance from day one somehow, and only Shanahan and oh my gosh, John Lynch knew it. I don't know if this is true, but once everybody said Matt Jones, they were like, this is better for us.
We're not gonna
let them think it. We can study Trey Lance without it being an issue. But again, that might be just some bullshit, because no team's ever going to go, yeah, we really wanted Trevor Lawrence, but we're stuck with Trey Lance, so we took him. No team's ever going to do that.
Yeah, they also called up for Aaron Rodgers, which obviously you do. Like, doing your due diligence, you have
even
to.
If you're in the north,
up.
you call.
Yeah.
You call. If you're the Bears, you go, hey, it's Ryan Pace. You're probably going to hang up on me. Any chance I can trade for Aaron Rodgers? Who the coach goes?
Just puts it straight down. Yeah, they called. That doesn't make a difference. But the other issue is with giving up the future first round picks is you have a better chance of evaluating guys in 2022 than you did in 2021. So yes, they've got all the picks at the top of the draft this year, but it's a bad year to have the picks at the top of the draft. And at the same time, a lot of the guys in that medium would have been the lower guys in 2022, because more guys are coming out in 2022. The lower guys will be undrafted free agents.
I heard a different theory. Now, I agree with what you said, but there's another theory out there that some GMs were going by, and it was, people are scared of this draft, so we are going to load up as many of these guys as we can get. So it was two different theories on it. I like the ideas. I want to see them play. I want to pick up guys who played. A problem with Trey Lance, even though I love him and it's not his fault, he only got to play one game last year and he doesn't have a lot of experience to begin with. So I agree with you, but there was some teams who thought everybody's going to load up for next year so we can steal the draft this year.
Yeah, and I think that the not playing actually leads me into my final problem with it. It's, if you're going for, we're sitting Trey Lance for another year and you're going to play Jimmy G in front of him, which isn't the worst idea ever, but he's already not played for an entire year. You don't want to play him for the next year, and you've given up 3 first-round picks to get him. I personally would have gone for Fields because he's more polished, or Mac Jones because they've both played more. If you're going to trade up that far, but Trey Lance is a great pick, really good fit. I just think you might have been able to get him at 12. Would you rather have Fields or Jones and those 2 first-round picks in the future, where you get to evaluate the players more, and you've got to play him this year? So if you're saying, Trey Lance needs to sit, well, then you're the wrong team to have taken him then, because you've given away 3 first-round picks for him to go to.
And you can't let a young kid who's got barely any playing time sit 2 years. I always go back, but Kyle Trask, Calvin Mond, these guys can sit a year or 2 because they've played so many games. Trey Lance has not, so you have to get him out there. You don't want a kid with a handful of starts to sit. He sat last year, except for the one showcase game, right? And I don't think that was fair, because now you're trying to judge a guy on one game where the pressure is higher than he's ever had it, and then you let him sit another year. Doesn't make sense to me. And then back to your point, yes, they probably could have sat and got one of those guys. But if you felt like there was only, say, 4 quarterbacks in this draft worth it, where you, no matter who they were you going to risk being at your spot at 12 and ending up with pick the 5th guy?
You take control of your own destiny, and we've talked about it before. We like that. We like that a lot. I'm not entirely shitting on it. I'm just thinking, was it the best value to do it?
I get it.
With the way that the 49ers are built, and the fact that they're a good team, they were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, they're a fantastic team who just had a lot of injuries. Are they going to need the first-round picks realistically? Are they kind of on an LA Rams where they just need depth rather than quality because they're worried about injuries and stuff like that?
They need that cap money that Jimmy G has right now, so they can re-sign George Kittle and all these other guys who have contracts coming up. So I think this is actually a move too, where you get a guy who you're not 100% sold on, injury issues, whatever, you get his big number off your books and you're bringing in another guy you think you can win with while keeping the core of your team. So yes, the first round picks almost mean less because you're using money to keep the people you already have.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I know 49ers are probably kind of sick about hearing about Trey Lance fans now. So let's move on to their other picks. I really like Aaron Banks. People are saying he's a reach, but I trust Notre Dame offensive lineman. It's kind of like O-line, like Notre Dame's a good place to get your offensive lineman. He's big in the run game. Like he's a big run blocker, run blocking guard. Sermon, good fit for the offense, really good running back, but
he will be their number one by time this season's over.
100%. But trading up for a running back, giving away 2 4th-round picks, that's not the best value. And in this run game, could you just put anybody in there and they're going to do kind of well? We'll see. But also, the guy's super talented. Like, if you believe it's your guy, go get him. That's that again. Solid picks. They've added depth to the 49ers, which they need desperately after having injuries in both seasons.
And I think Jalen Moore is going to be a really offensive guard. It's just another guy who came from a small school. But like you said, coach him up. Next thing you know, you got a good backup, maybe a starter. I really like what they did. I gave him a B because they targeted their guy, went and got him, still had good picks, good amount of picks in the draft in the sweet spot. But who knows, maybe giving up all that stuff changed their draft grade next year. But as of this year, I think the 49ers are right where they wanted to be coming out of this draft.
Yeah, I just think with the amount of picks that they gave up, not for the Trey Lance trade, now for the Sermon trade, those 2 4th-round picks could have been more depth for where you guys get injured all the time. Like you guys have the 49ers have really bad injury issues. They could have probably done with 2 more players on their depth chart. But Sermon's a good running back. Sermon's gonna have an amazing season. I don't think anybody, with the amount that they run, the guy's gonna have an absolutely top quality season. He's gonna be electric, really prolific. But could you have 2 other players if you get injured? Possibly, but I gave it a B as well. I like all the players. The value was sometimes a bit questionable. So a B.
All right. Well, moving on to a team I don't even know what to say about, because how do you grade a team that only had 3 picks with the Seattle Seahawks? So I was thinking maybe a D, but I just gave him an incomplete because I don't even know how to grade a team who has 3 picks. Adams is what they traded for. So he goes in there. He's a good safety. I think they gave up too much for him, but maybe not. So it's really weird with 3 picks to even try to give them a grade.
I have real problems with this draft. I gave it a C-, but that's only saved by Stone Forsyth. Stone Forsyth is their best pick in the draft by quite a long way. Stone Forsyth is he just looks really, really good. And he was worth giving up. They had 4 picks. They gave up a 7th rounder to go and get him, and he looks entirely worth it. And their offensive line is rough. So he could easily start.
And we talked about the other day, man, about a corner from Oklahoma. Now you're pushing it, because there was only a couple gleaming lights on that Oklahoma awful defense. And Trey Brown, to me, was not one of them. So I was kind of caught off guard with that pick. I felt like that was a big reach from a team who had very little draft capital. But maybe because it's in the 4th round, they're picking traits that they want to coach. So I don't want to crush them too bad. But with your 2nd round pick and all the talent that was on the board, really, that's where you go?
It makes no sense. So I've written down appease Russell Wilson, but actually he wanted offensive linemen. So not necessarily that. Obviously you see a wide receiver picked and you think, oh, they're appeasing their quarterback. When you have a quarterback like Russell Wilson, you see an a wide receiver pick towards the top of your draft board and you think, oh, you're appeasing their quarterback. This guy doesn't do that for me. Wide receiver was probably one of the only places they don't have a hole. For a good team for a team that have won this division, and it's a very good division. They have a lot of holes. Like the Cowboys scored 35 points on them like last year. Like they needed to improve their defense and they needed to improve their offensive line. And when you only have 4 picks, you can't use the first pick you have on a weapon. And I don't care who it is. Obviously, if an unbelievable talent falls to you, but Dwayne Eskridge is a slot receiver. He's going to have a prolific season in my eyes next to Lockett and Metcalf. He's a deep threat. He's a quick guy. He's explosive. But
if Russell's standing,
yeah, exactly. And he's a slot receiver. Like you don't use your first pick when you've got that many holes on a slot receiver when you only have 4 picks.
They could have traded back and got, not that I want to give away Vikings offensive linemen again, but
yeah,
Wyatt Davis. You could have traded back, accumulated picks, and stacked that offensive line. This is why Russell Wilson is gone after this season.
If you're going to trade that much for a safety, which I don't disagree with, the secondary was garbage. Jamal Adams is a really, really good safety, and that's like you say. They probably overplayed, but that was just how much it was going to take to get him out the Jets. Like the Cowboys would have given that much as well. Like that's how much it was. But it's
one thing to give up those picks, but then to go into a draft where you have no picks and then
not trade
you don't even try to accumulate more picks while you're doing it. I don't get it.
It made no sense. I've changed my grade. This is a D minus. Stone Forsythe is a glimmering light of this pick. Trey Brown is undersized, but he has good hustle. That's the one thing you can say for the guy. Like he doesn't back down from anybody.
Yeah, this isn't a shot at the players; it's a shot at the drafting.
Yeah, I like Dwayne Eskridge for a team who has loads of picks, or if you pick him up in the 3rd or 4th round.
But Brown got burnt so many times at Oklahoma. I felt like they reached for him. Not that he can't learn how to play. But again, like we both said, exactly. Like you have so many holes.
I agree. Like, why not trade back why not trade back both of those picks? Like both of those picks you're thinking trade back. But obviously then if you trade, you could turn that 2nd round pick into at least another 3rd, like a 3rd and a 5th or something. Like you could have definitely had that. And it just makes no sense to me. And the Seahawks are going from one of the best run organizations in the NFL to one of the worst run really quickly. And I think
it's weird.
It's really weirded me out. This draft I'm finding this draft really weird. Stone Forsythe can start left or right tackle for the Seattle Seahawks to start with, and that's a really good pick later on in the draft. I really like it.
If I'm wrong, somebody tell me below. Maybe I'm wrong and being completely fucking prisoner of the moment on this, but I feel like they haven't had great drafts since 4 or 5 years after Pete Carroll got there. And it almost seems like because Pete Carroll was a college coach, he had studied all these guys, recruited all these guys for the next 4 or 5 years. He had great insight, and then their scouting fell off after that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't even think it's necessarily that. Like their off season just hasn't been good. Like they've also got rid of a lot of their secondary. Like they've got rid of secondary people, and then haven't. For me, the Dwayne Haskins pick should have been used in a cornerback. The Trey Brown pick should have been used on an offensive lineman. And then the Stone Forsythe pick should have also been used on an offensive lineman. Like they had no need for another wide receiver. But these guys, I imagine these guys can all play. Like Dwayne Eskridge is going to be is going to be good in that system. It just doesn't make sense.
I think Trey Brown has all the traits to be coached up. But as much as he got beat at Oklahoma, and that's a lot to do with the garbage.
It's the scheme.
Defense, But I just, to me, at that pick, it's like you didn't help Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is already not happy and did not want to be there. Not enough to like force his way out, but he let it be known. And now, like the Packers, you're doing nothing to make your star quarterback happy. This is why he's not going to be your quarterback next year.
Yeah, strange. Very, very strange. But from I think that might be my least favorite draft in the entire Like in the entire thing. Like
Yeah.
it's not necessarily the worst because all the guys can like when you watch the tape, like the guys are good, like the picks are good. It just doesn't make sense like where they took them, and they only had 3 picks. But now to one of my favorites because it's full of some of my favorite players, the Arizona Cardinals.
I give them an A.
Yeah, playmakers, ridiculously fast on defense. That's what this team is going to be. I absolutely love it. The Zaven Collins pick made me smile so much because I was just like, oh my God, I was right. Zaven Collins is a top 20 player in the draft. What? That's so exciting. And for me, some people have said that Zaven Collins is a reach. I don't agree because you wouldn't have got him in the second round, so that makes him not a reach for me. Like you wouldn't have.
I don't understand that comment anyway. This kid can freaking play, and I think the only reason people underestimate him is because he played at Tulsa. I think
he played at Tulsa. That's it. That is legitimately it. That play that he breaks through the offensive line and gets a safety for Tulsa. You think that's enough? I've seen enough to want to pick him anyway. Like he's a massive playmaking force, and he's not terrible in coverage just compared to Micah Parsons and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who were his competition. He's not better than either of them in coverage, but he's not terrible. Like the guy is fast, sideline to sideline, and you must be excited to watch him, Budda Baker, and Isaiah Simmons all in the same defense. That's insane.
And I think they got super great value at every pick they had.
Yeah.
And I think they stole going from UCF another kid,
steal.
Because he's from UCF and people are like, oh, he played at UCF. He played.
Yeah.
Like, bro, these kids can play. Watch them.
Like, absolute steal.
I absolutely love what Arizona did. I think they got huge value. And I know Rondell Moore, they're like, why do you need another wide receiver? Because he can play, and I got Kyler Murray. How about that?
Yeah, and Larry Fitzgerald might probably isn't going to be there.
And
like
AJ Green's 147.
Yeah, listen to this though. Starting 3 receivers: DeAndre Hopkins, AJ Green, Rondell Moore.
That's what I'm saying.
That sounds insane. Like it just sounds insane. It's because they could have done with taking an offensive lineman, and they could have done with padding out their secondary, really. But they did that. Like they
did a good job on that secondary.
They have padded out their secondary. They like the guys that they've picked just because they're not first, second round picks. Like good cornerbacks can be 3rd, 4th, 5th round picks.
I had Wilson, cornerback out of Florida, going in high 3rd round, and they got him at 136 in the 4th round.
He's a super athletic playmaker as well. Like that's what they've done. They've just gone, right, we're just going to be insanely entertaining. We're going to get playmakers all over the pitch and just see what happens. So you've got Kyler Murray, playmaker, JJ Watt, Chandler Jones. That's a solid defensive line. And then you've got Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons, both as linebackers. Then you've got Budda Baker as safety. And then your receiving core is DeAndre Hopkins, Rondell Moore, and AJ Green. How's that not exciting people? I don't get it. I don't believe
they got better.
I don't believe that they're going to win anything. Like I don't think they'll win this division because I think the Rams are more consistent. I don't think they'll. I think they may get to the playoffs, but once they get to the playoffs, like I'm not sure how far they'll go in like a playoff environment. But it's just
Kyler needs that experience.
Yeah, exactly. You've just got insane playmakers on your team now, and all you need to do is maybe like pick up a veteran here or there, or maybe add a little bit more to the O-line. Like maybe
as a Cowboys fan, do you want to face Arizona?
Absolutely not. As a Minnesota fan,
you could beat them, but they could easily beat you too.
Yeah, they're freakishly fast now on their defense, and they're going to put those young guys in. Like they're going to do that straight away. Like they're the team that took the 1st round pick on Kyler Murray. They don't
when
care
you bring in a defense,
what the rest of the NFL
in a young defensive end, is there any 2 guys better to learn from than Chandler Jones and JJ Watt at this point?
Yeah, exactly. And I just love I really like this. I think this is my most exciting draft. I understand that the Browns and the Chargers have better drafts, but this is the most exciting to me, where they've just taken people who are just going to blow up the screen. Like, you're going to watch them on screen, you're going to think this is insane.
Like you said, you can argue Zaven Collins. I don't, right? But
yeah,
minus Zaven Collins, I feel like they got guys at every pick that I thought were going to go higher.
Yeah, I thought Zaven Collins was going to go around there as well, and every other pick, I'm like,
I'm just saying that's a lot higher.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Let's even take him out of the argument. Everybody else was drafted like they were a steal.
Yeah, and it's not only that, it's they fit. Like, they're this high octane team that are going to come out the tunnel and play fast. Like, that's how they're going to play. Almost a sense of like, it doesn't matter about scheme. They're just going to go out there and just fly to the ball. Like, that's going to be their defense. And then their offense is just going to be absolutely rapid. So that's what they're going to do. The big things on Rondale Moore, and the reason that they're saying, why would you pick Rondale Moore there when you need wide receivers? Couldn't also Rondale Moore, that may be a bit of a reach, which I don't agree with, but he's the perfect fit for this team. So his biggest weakness is against strong defensive backs who are in press. He's going to struggle to get off them because of his size issues. But also, those strong defensive backs in press are definitely going to be more worried about Hopkins and AJ Green.
Plus, those two guys are going to teach him how to get off press.
Yeah, exactly. They've got it. They've nailed it. I really like it. This division for me is between the Rams and the Cardinals, just because of the Seahawks. Terrible.
I agree. I would go with the Cardinals only because, again, what we said, but I am really impressed with the Rams draft. But I have to ask you, if you're Rondale Moore as a receiver and you're going to be in a room with AJ Green, Hopkins, and maybe Fitzgerald, are you not the most excited guy drafted at receiver in this draft? Like, I get to learn from legends.
Yeah, they also have small guys as well that play his game, like Isabella and Kirk. Like, they're small guys who have made a living in the NFL playing his game. He's just a lot faster than they are as well. So another like, special
teams guy too.
Yeah, I just look at it and think, great pick. Like, we both messaged each other when it came off the board and were just like, holy shit, like, this is going to be the fastest team in the NFL. It's exciting. I'm excited.
You have great receivers. I have good receivers in Minnesota, and both of us would still take this guy.
They make your team a lot more palatable. Like, if you, like, say you are the Arizona Cardinals in this horrible division full of defense and full of some of the best coaches in the, like, possibly three of the best coaches in the league are in this division. Like, if you take Pete Carroll, one of the best defensive minds, Shanahan and McVay, two of the best offensive minds, and you think, absolutely, just play entertaining football. Like, just play entertaining football, and it might come off. Like, it's not even necessarily the greatest show on turf, because they're entertaining on both sides of the ball as well. I just like it, and I'm not sure whether I would have taken Rondale Moore, just because, like, Cowboys Nation would have killed anybody who took a wide receiver that high. But
if he was on your team, now you're looking, hey, I wouldn't be upset. 3 outrageous contracts that could happen also.
I wouldn't be upset.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a really top player.
This division was a lot of fun to talk about. They're going to be really exciting to watch. And I'm even excited to watch the Seahawks, because I think it's going to be a dumpster fire.
Yeah, and the Seahawks immediately become one of the most interesting teams to watch in, like, the first 5 weeks of the season. And then if it's garbage up to then you're like, right, well, that, like, I'm going to stop watching them now because it's been a failure of the season. Seahawks have been so used to winning since Russell Wilson got there that if they don't go 4-1, maybe 3-2, then their fans are going to be pissed after 5 games. And you could see it. Like, you could easily see that happening. Whereas, like, the Cardinals can do that and have a totally different outlook on the entire season. They could go 2-3 and be like, oh, we're still playing really great football, like, really entertaining, because they play so fast and they come out of the gate so hard. I love this division. It's really interesting. Both of the divisions in the West are incredibly exciting.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I can't wait to get through the rest of these divisions, as exciting as it's been through these first 4.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. And we're going to the East next. We're going from West to East. So follow us for the NFC and the AFC East coming up.
And I'm sure Maddie will have a lot to say on that.
I'm ready for this one.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Follow us on all the podcasting platforms above. All right, guys. Thanks again. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.